Just like just see the kids when they come in and you don't give them seats first day, they all sit in the back. No one wants to ever sit in the front row. Yeah.
So good.
I actually did that. I like having my front row empty. I can sit over here.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started here if we could. I've been told that there's another meeting happening right here, so some of you may be, if you're thinking you're here for the College Credit Plus meeting, that's not until 7 o'clock. So, but some of you may be going back to back. I want to thank you guys for coming to this meeting tonight. What this is we are exploring, we've been talking a lot about the possibility, and it's not a for sure thing, but we've been talking about the possibility of joining a different league, and we've been talking a lot to coaches, and we've been talking a lot to our staff and everyone. In fact, the last board meeting, and I recognize some of you that were here at the last board meeting, you're going to hear some of the same things, and we found some more information out. But what this is, and my name is Sean Brayman, I'm the superintendent here, and this is Tom McKinnon, our athletic director. And what this is a chance to try to be as transparent as we can. I want to make sure you guys understand that we're not trying to hide anything. We're laying it out here, and if our community decides that this is the right thing to do, what's best for our kids, then by all means, that's what we're going to do. And there are, and honestly, I'm not 100% sure one way or another. I think there are some great opportunities here to take a look at this, hence the reason why we're here. Mr. McKinnon is definitely leaning more towards that way. He thinks there's some great opportunities for our kids here. And really, the bottom line, all I care about, and all he cares about, and all really everybody in this room, I think all you would agree to that, is we just want to make sure we put our kids in the best position to do as well as they can athletically. Really athletically, academically, extracurricular-wise, we want to put them in the best possible position. And that's what we're interested in doing, and that's why we're here tonight. All right? So, Mr. McKinnon has a PowerPoint. He's going to go through this. He's actually changed a little bit. So if you saw it the last time, if you were at the board meeting, he's actually tried to find more information, more detail to give everyone to share with everyone with the great idea of being transparent. So Tom, if you're ready, why don't you go ahead?
Thanks. I'll just start off. I just got off the phone with the ITCL commissioner around 4 o'clock. So some of the information after the second slide is going to be a little different just because I found out new information. But the first slide deals with that information. And I'm sure if you've been keeping up with the ITCL, you've been hearing that they're going to split this way, they're going to disband the league, all these different things. So in my conversation and the email I received from the ITCL commissioner, this is the plan for the ITCL. This is 4 o'clock today, the way they're going to go with the league. The red tier, there's been conversation with Crestview and South Range being kicked out of the league. At this point in time, that's not true. They're trying to keep both those teams who are charter members of the ITCL in. If you notice the blue tier there, this is where we would fall with Western Reserve, McDonald, Mineral Ridge, Jackson, Milton, Louisville, and then ourselves. So the base concept, some of you might have heard of the 666, is true, but the way they're falling is a little bit different. At the bottom, they're just talking about football here. The school will play the 5 games in their division, which would be these 5 schools here, and we'll play one crossover game with each of the 2 divisions. Our crossover games is, with the one with the white is Sebring, which is very close to us, and our crossover game in the red is Campbell. Divisionally and kid-wise, that is a good fit for us as well. In the other sports, we would play just our blue tier for our league games. We could find non-conference games with anybody else in the red and white to our discretion. But for football, we would just play these crossovers, and that's basically just to fill your 7-game schedule. Now, if you would like, I can put all this stuff online at the end of the day, and then you don't have to write it all down. I'll just put it online, and then you can just have all this information.
You know, there's something else, can I add a little bit more
Sure.
to that too? We talked at our board meeting about it looking a little bit differently. I want to make sure you guys understand, anytime you begin a new league, I haven't been through a league change, but I have some very close friends and relatives who are coaches who have gone through. A suburban league would be a great example. Suburban league in Summit County, that's been a league that's been together for a very, very long time, and they actually ended up splitting and picking up some other teams. When that happens, things are very fluid. Okay, if you followed the suburban league back in Summit County when that was going on, there were lots of changes all the time. It was constantly, you heard all these teams coming and going. Was this going to happen? Was that going to happen? So some of you might be apprehensive, like, holy smokes, at the last meeting we were at, we heard a different kind of a league, and now it looks a little bit different this time. And you're right, that's true, and that makes me nervous too. But I've been told 100 times by 100 different people that that's pretty typical when you're forming a new league. Am I right with that?
You're right. And just to piggyback on that, just to let you know, when I was a young boy, I grew up in Norton. I played in the suburban league, and I remember playing against Field, because Field used to be part of that suburban league. So things change, things evolve. Just some enrollment figures. These are from Ohio High School, 9 through 11, just to give you some numbers of where we're falling compared to the schools in the PTC. And here on the other side, you can see the enrollment numbers of the schools that would be in that blue tier, and schools we'd be playing against. If you look at the PTC, you'll see a lot of these schools have double the number of kids compared to ours.
If our numbers go up or down, is that going to change its divisions?
No, and if you look at our enrollment is continually going down.
Well, our middle school is so big right now. They've got so many. So is that going to change?
No, but if you look at the elementary, we're averaging 80, 85 a class. And the only real big class right now in our middle school is our 8th grade. Time travel, and I've heard a lot of just discussion about it. I always hear Conotton Valley thrown into this a lot. Yes, we do play Conotton Valley. We play Conotton Valley in a lot of non-conference games, just because they're similar size and it's a good matchup for us. But if you look at our time travel, this was our, and I just used football because it was easy to do. And the other reason I did football was because in football we have to schedule 5 non-conference games due to our TTC conference. There's only 5 schools we can play in the county division, so we have to find 5 schools to play non-conference. If you know anything about scheduling football, it's very difficult, just because everybody else is in a league starting week 4. So you have to find schools that are comparable to you to play. We ended up with Newberry, which was a good matchup for us, and Lucas, which was D7. that's the other reason we ended up scheduling that. The other options we had at this point in time were schools like Ursuline, Mooney, those kind of schools, division-wise. If you look at the time travel, and I did this from my desk from Google Maps, Western Reserve is 19 minutes, McDonald's 35. Matthews is no longer on that ITCL 6, 6, and 6 plan. I didn't honestly have time to ask the ITCL commissioner what is their plan. I don't know if Matthews has decided to stay where they were. I don't know where they're at this point in time, but they are not in this 6, 6, and 6 deal.
You know, when Mr. McKinney and I looked at this initially, I said, well, you know, Lucas throws that out of whack. I mean, it's 79 minutes away. So I said, let's take out the two farthest ones. Let's take out Lucas, and I think we took out, which one did we take out?
Lowville.
Okay, and we did it from there. And the average time, I think, our current league, the drive was a little bit shorter, but it was
this one was still longer by like 3 minutes.
Yeah, there were only a couple minutes difference between the two. It was basically.
Hey, Tom, are we allowed to ask questions now?
When I'm done.
Oh.
So here's the drive times of these. Now this is the one that's kind of changed, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this slide just because of the new 6, 6, and 6. This was the original split. Chalkers decided to stay in the NAC, but this is this is very similar to what it would be with our football schedule. Sports offered through the blue tier, and this won't change any.
It will or will not? Will not?
It will not. Football, basketball, volleyball, track, golf, softball, baseball, and cross country are all offered by those schools. Girls soccer, this also will not change with the schools that offer it. They play one soccer league, so we would play the other schools in the conference. Boys soccer, the only thing that would change in here is the Matthews school, just because I don't know exactly where they're going to fall with their conference. And they were a co-ed team this past season. Wrestling would also not change because none of those schools are leaving the league.
I noticed one thing up there, we won't be playing Richtown.
Well, that would, and Mr. Brayman and I both talked to the superintendent at Ritztown, and they both, and when we had that conversation, they were, according to him, they would be more than happy to play us non-league.
Same as Mogador.
Tom, on this league here, like in soccer and wrestling, that would be a league with us included because we do offer those.
Yes, we
That would be our schedule.
offer these sports, so we would be included in that whole league. Wrestling, they don't do the dual meets like the PTC does. They do one main wrestling meet with all those schools, which actually fits us pretty well because Coach Munger, with his program, likes to do a lot of invitationals. Since 2000, and I broke this down even more on the next slide, our boys football team is 46 and 114. There's 2 winning seasons during that time from 2000 for a 29% win percentage. Our boys basketball is 171 and 195 for 46% win percentage. 14 PTC county titles out of 180 for 7%. Why the ITCL? Competing against schools that are the same size. You hear constantly about competitive balance. That's what we're offering here. Coaches agree this is the best move for our athletic programs, and I would encourage you to talk to the coaches and see how they feel on this. We have full league schedules. In the PTC, we have 5 non-conference football games. We have to find 10 non-conference volleyball, basketball. So we're always looking for extra games to fill out our schedule. Last 3 years, I read something or someone told me that someone wanted to know the last 3 years of how we're doing. So I put together our PTC, just our league records of how we're doing in the league. Our girls are 52 and 114 for a 31% win percentage. boys are 24 and 165 with 2 ties in soccer for a 13% winning percentage. That's the end of the presentation. So if there's questions or
I'm gonna add one more thing here, then we'll take questions. There's a couple things I want you guys to realize. I'm brand new here, so I feel like I'm sticking my neck out a little bit, but there's a couple things I do want to say. Being brand new, I've noticed a few things, and I mentioned this at our board meeting. I think we have, for some of this, I might say, or some could say, that this is a cycle. Everybody has down cycles, and then you go back up, and if you're coaching, you know what I'm talking about. If you do it for a long enough time, you see those things. But things I've noticed here, we have great coaches. They're all here, right here, and they're pretty excited about this possibility. We've got great teachers. We've got great facilities here, and our students are I feel like I have to pinch myself every day when I come to work. I can't believe the people that I get to work with every day, and that's the truth. The one thing that we're missing, I think, you've got great academics, and I talked about this at the board meeting. You have great academics, and it gets tied with that a lot of times to the extracurriculars, not just the athletics, but the plays and the musicals and the band performance and so on and so forth. When it's almost like a building block, and they go on top of each other. When those things are going well, then you've got a pretty nice thing going. We're in a rut right now. Is it a cycle, or is this something different? And the one thing I've coached and I played and I've done all these things, and I'm going to tell you, these guys work very hard, and our students work very hard, our athletes work very hard, and they can work, and they can lift weights, and they can bust their butt from morning till night, no matter what the sport, and numbers determine the outcome a lot of times. If we're a school and we've got 20 kids playing on the football team, and we're facing a football team week after week, when then we're looking at 60 kids or 70 kids on the sideline. That's hard to beat. That's hard to beat. Our numbers, and this is why I asked Tom, hey, let's look at our kindergarten through 3rd, 4th grade numbers and see what the numbers are. And we are dropping in numbers where I don't see that happening with the other schools, and we're looking at sometimes facing double the number of boys on any given night, and double the number of girls on any given night. And that's the thing that I think is most unfair. All I'm asking for, all I want to have is an even playing field. Let's leave it up to hard work in the weight room, preparation, good coaching, and hard practices by our kids, and let's see where we go, all things being equal. That's why I'm interested in this. But again, this is an exploration. We're thinking about it, we're talking about it, and that's why we're here tonight. I want to make sure that we're clear on that. All right? So that being said, if we got any comments or questions or anything you want to say, fire away. Yes, sir.
So basically, the main reason that we're exploring this is because we're not competitive in the PTC.
I would say that's part of the reason. That's not the main reason. I think for me, now, and it may be different from person to person, my reason, and it goes back again to numbers. We're the smallest school by far, who's not, and this is nothing against any other school, but who's not a parochial school or not having open enrollment being used as a recruiting tool.
With the exception of Montclair.
Montclair's gonna be a recruiting school. Big time.
I guess what I don't quite understand is our community. I refuse to believe that the people that go to Waterloo are that much worse than our surrounding areas. I went to school here and played sports here. Going to play in a league in Mahoning County or wherever, it sounds ridiculous to me. Going back to the community thing, I want my kids to play their cousins at Field. I want them to play their cousins at Southeast, at Ritztown, at Marlington. I think that there's a lot to that. It does build part of the community. And you look in our gym and you look at the banners with the PCL champions, the ones that have the most are the teams that had coaches that were willing to invest in the community and spend their career here building those teams. And looking at winning percentages and losing percentages, how can we say that we've analyzed the leadership? How many superintendents have we had here in the last 10 years? How many revolving door head coaching jobs have we had in our major sports, football, basketball, boys and
Way
girls?
basketball's
particularly?
one.
Yeah.
One.
No, but he's right, I mean, that's
No,
part of it,
but I mean,
we're
but-
considering
but-
that too.
but I
I'm not
mean-
gonna- We're not gonna get into a fight about this.
That's not saying anything negative against you, but I'm just saying, why are we just jumping into another league that even if the drive time overall, you're canceling out a bunch of drive times that are 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that makes it much more convenient for grandparents and other people to go for an overall average of about a half an hour. I disagree. I don't think that
Working
it's.
with these kids on a daily basis. I'm in the high school, I'm a teacher, and I'm also a coach. I played here, I was coached here, I've grown up in the community. It's different. It's completely different. We played field when I was in high school, but they're double what we are now. We cannot be competitive with them. And the other schools that are in our league are looking to leave as well. And if that happens, then we have to play field in our league, and they're double what we are. That's not fair to our kids. I think leveling the playing field and giving them time, giving them the opportunity to compete, and actually seeing them, not beat down constantly when not competing, I think it's the opportunity that we should give them, especially when you're completely involved with all these kids and you see them day in, day out.
You need to be in the stands to see what's going on and in the hallways, and I'm sorry that the people that are against this aren't there. I am the biggest traditionalist here. And I have a lot of friends around the PCL. I call it PCL, so that's how old I am. But come to a game. The playing field is not level. Everybody says, well, Mogator's got less kids. Well, 4 or 5 of the kids on Mogator's basketball team aren't Mogator kids.
They're from
10 of those
elementary.
kids are on the football team aren't Mogator kids. It's just amazing. And the league hasn't done nothing to level the playing field. They bring Crestwood down. And I said Crestwood. They brought Crestwood down. Crestwood cried for 3 years to get down to the small schools so they could beat up on the small schools, because they were getting beat up a little bit in the big schools. It's just a bad situation. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants this. But if you haven't been to games to watch it, which I've been to almost every game in this building, and watch all these kids go through it, it's demoralizing what's going on with these kids.
And the community's not even coming to the games. We don't have full stands. We're not even working what we are
Yeah.
when it comes to put forward the refs and the coaches' salaries and stuff. I mean, we're not putting people in the stands. So saying that the drive time is an issue, I really don't think that that's something that we can factor in when we're not even putting people in the stands right now.
One of the things too is the opportunities for us to play the fields, the Ritztowns, the Moggers, whoever you want us to play, there's always non-league games. And I've watched it, Wyndham did this as well. They went to a new league, they developed new rivalries. Their rivalry with Garfield in this league is probably stronger now than what it was when they were playing each other twice a year. So the rivalries don't have to go away.
Couple of things. Tom, your slide of driving distance between schools. I'm Steve Matthews, 71 grad here. I have 20 years experience as an athletic administrator, 15 in the Warriors Trail Conference and PCL back in the day. But this is just false advertisement when you put that slide up there, Tom. You got 10 schools on the right, and it's your football schedule. It's non-league. You're traveling all over the state to play these football games.
Well, why do I have
Then
to
you're
do that,
comparing
Steve?
that mileage.
But Steve, why do I have, but Steve, why do I have to?
Let me talk.
No, why do I have to have 5
Now,
non-league schools?
your new tier, Tom, your average distance of these new tier schools, the ones you put up today, is 28.76 miles, average. In the PTC County Division, Tom, it's 13.82. Now, why don't you put that number up there? That's comparing apples to apples.
But explain to me
What
why I
you got
need
is
5
apples to
non-conference games, Steve.
Tom, what you have is apples to oranges. You got
Okay.
10 schools all over the state. Why don't you compare your new league
Yeah, but a
to
couple
your
of the
current
schools,
league?
couple of the
There's
schools
twice,
that
it's
couple
twice
of-
the distance. It's
couple of
twice
the-
the distance.
But
Well,
explain to me
schools
why I
that-
need 5 non-league games.
Well, currently, that's the way our county division is.
You're
set up.
right.
You're right.
What was your numbers again?
Just, I mean, the average.
In a 6-team tier that you put up today, the new one, 28.76 miles.
Okay.
Currently, in the county division, it's 13.82 miles.
So it's 12 miles difference.
It's twice, it's over twice.
What I think of
What's
it,
the difference between the two numbers? 12 miles?
15 miles.
15 miles?
Right.
So a parent of a high school student
It's gonna drive 30 extra miles.
is,
You
who's
just said it's
sitting,
15.
hang on, who's sitting right here, we said 15 miles ahead, correct?
Correct.
So I'm not gonna drive 15 extra miles for her to have a level playing field and potentially win? If your child came to you as an athlete and said, Dad, I want a level playing field, which is what I have here, you as a parent would not say, I'm not willing to drive
This
15
doesn't
extra miles.
guarantee you a
No,
level
answer-
playing field, it doesn't do
Why,
that.
if,
It'd have new
it
teams to play,
guarantees,
but not necessarily
it
teams you're gonna beat.
guarantees a more level playing field, does it not?
I don't know that.
What do you, by division, by state division,
I
does
don't
it,
know that.
does,
Look
you
at,
don't,
Look at
you know what
Look at
divisions
Modular
are?
numbers. Modular numbers are
You don't,
tiny.
you can't compare mine.
Exactly.
You can't compare Modular to
You
Waterloo.
think
Because
you
you
just
know
show
that
up and beat
Crestwood-
those schools?
Crestwood has 200.
How many
kids.
overall
You're
kids
using
do we
numbers.
have?
Crestwood has 210, we have 110. That's double. That is numbers. You use numbers there.
Southeast
That's-
has double.
Southeast, Southeast,
talking
about
Crestwood's
our
numbers
numbers,
have not
we have dropped drastically.
There.
We started out with 225 in a class, we have 130 in sixth grade.
Crestwood has.
Their numbers right now, but I'm saying their enrollment has dropped in general.
I just don't think, I wanna see.
You're gonna drive all over the state.
Why did Crestwood come down?
Your enrollment dropped.
And you wanted to come down and play with schools your size,
It's
right?
based on enrollment.
I want you to find out. And that's why we want to, it's based on enrollment.
Hey, folks, it
We
comes,
got kids here, let's let the kids tell us.
it comes down to this, Steve, and you can say what you want. You can say you live in a district and everything, that's fine.
I don't.
But it comes down
We don't live in a
to
district.
Crestwood won't have another small school to be a whipping post.
Do you not live in
And
the
why did you want out of the big schools? Because you couldn't, you wanted it down so you could play the small
Enrollment
schools.
dropped and brought it down to the county.
Look at the enrollment compared to our enrollment, Steve. Don't you understand what we're getting at?
shouldn't have a copy.
You don't understand what we're getting at.
No, you don't. And you don't pay taxes.
Thank you.
You don't pay taxes here, you don't.
You
live
go
in
in
this
your gymnasium and count your titles, gentlemen and ladies.
I'm telling you,
You'll see that
you do
you
not
have
live in our district.
1.4
Go to Arlington.
1.4 league titles in the PCL over 38 years. Over 38 years, Waterloo averaged 1.4 titles per year.
You do not
In the
have
11
a
years
voice
of the
here.
new league, the average is exactly the same,
Okay.
1.4.
Don't-
I was just gonna come sit next
If
to you.
there's other,
1.4.
Let's
if there's
move
other
on.
schools in the PCL looking to leave, why aren't we looking to go with some of them? If we were talking the smaller schools,
They're not looking now. The only thing, this is,
That's what I'm
this is
curious
what,
about.
this is what I heard. Southeast was approached by NBC.
Mhm.
Okay, NBC is like, Louisville just got kicked out of the NBC, so you're looking at Minerva and those schools, they're all Division IV. Carrollton, those schools, much bigger. Garrettsville has talked to the CBC, Cuyahoga Valley, so that you're talking about monstrous drives there. I mean, you're talking all the way up to Kirtland.
stuff you don't
So I
do.
mean, those are the, that's why.
Let's
Let's-
hear from some of the kids.
That's great.
I think
Let the
they-
kids talk.
Yeah.
Aubrey, go
They're
ahead.
the ones that this involves.
I prepared something for tonight. Hi, I'm Aubrey Foster. I am a student here at Waterloo and an athlete here. Most of you know my grandfather Riley Foster and my father John Foster. Growing up with the family that I have, I've been taught to be passionate and always believe in things I choose to do with my life. But throughout my high school career so far, that's become a lot more difficult. All we are asking for is a chance to be successful and to thrive as a school and community, and we aren't getting that. My peers and I want to know the feeling of full stands with fans cheering us on, the feeling of victory, and the feeling that we are worth something. Our superiors say that they want what's best for us, but when is someone taking the chance to ask? Until now. They never ask us how the defeat after defeat makes us feel. Knowing that the hard work and dedication my peers and I put into our athletics each and every day, then having it taken away from us is just tiring. This slump that we have been gotten stuck into is taking a toll on us, not only with our athletics, but our school and community as well. Why not try change? I've heard many excuses as to why we shouldn't, but the most common has been tradition, which is brought up here tonight. We don't want tradition to change, I've heard. These schools that we compete with now are most of your traditions that you grew up with. But this is now about us. This is our time to make our own traditions. This is our time to make a difference and help rebuild the school that has been broken. If you want the best, what's best for us and the youth of this community, just give us a chance for greatness. We want the success and pride that for our futures that you once had. So please just do what is right and make Waterloo the strong family that we are capable of being once more. I support this change and I think you should too. Thank you. Okay.
Come on up here. Come on.
Hey, Sean, bring up about the bus. We were talking about the buses.
Can we still play like Ridgetown and Southeast and Garfield because
In
we are?
non-conference, yes.
We are in the new one.
Yeah, in non-conference
No.
play, yes.
Okay, good. Never mind.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
I just wanted real quick, sorry Bob, Tracy brought up like community and these kids support it, and I can say that her and Freddie are ones, and we have kids of similar ages, and they're ones that are always in the stands, and I feel like I'm one that's always in the stands. And the sad reality of it
I know
is-
that because I see you always in this.
Right. And the sad reality of it is, being more successful is gonna put people in the stands. You and me are gonna be there regardless. The average person is not going to be. You know, the community, as I remember it, and Mike brought this up, and Mark, and these guys that are here, I played with these guys. I remember packed stands, but we always had successful programs. We never ran the league, but there was that support. It didn't matter if you were in the band, it didn't matter if you played basketball, soccer didn't exist then, baseball, whatever. There was people there. And in order for that to happen again, you have to win games. So whatever that means, then I think that's what we need to do.
Tom, who's the dominant teams in that league that kind of stand out like a Mogador or Woodreach in cross country?
Well, football-wise, you're going to see Westerners they're usually the best of the best in football. They're usually the strongest. Jackson Milton, they were in the playoffs this year. They were 7-4, but according, this is straight from Coach Adorney over at Mogador. They played them first round and knocked them out. And what did Adorney say?
I don't think they're as good as we are. I mean, McDonald's good. They were ninth in their division. It's a good football league. It really is. Mineral Ridge is a 500 type team. It's not like we're going to walk in and win this thing. I mean, I don't want to give you any false impressions because there's some good football played in this league. I played in the Federal League. I went to Marlington. I experienced a change. When we shifted from the Federal League to the NBC, we're going through the same thing, right? We had the Stark County people that didn't want to give up those games. But I also saw us getting beat by 70 with nobody in the stands. To 2010, I was fortunate enough to coach on the Final Four team, and the 8 years that Coach Miley was there, we were playing in front of 2,000-3,000 people every Friday night. So it does make a difference. Have playing on a level playing field. And, I'll stay here as long as you want and talk about this, but I think it gives our kids a chance. We can talk about, it's how many kids you get out for the team, but enrollment numbers have a big say in that. Crestwood's got 110 more kids. If only 10% of those kids go out for football, you're talking about 11 more boys on the football team. That takes us from 35 kids last year to 46. That makes a big difference. Maybe they're not starters, but your scout team gets better, and you're practicing against those kids daily. So we're able to play a full JV schedule, and it's just a good situation. It really is.
Again, McDonald's good in track.
Now it's cross country track, absolutely.
Basketball,
good.
they kind of
They're good this
flip.
year.
It's.
Well, that's kind of my point. If you think they're going to go into another league, I'm kind of for it because I've been traveling. I got kids in the top district out there, and I see their caliber of football, and right now it's basketball. I go up to the town region, I saw the dominance up here, and I come back over to Waterloo. since my son left here, I cannot watch, it's like junior high football. We go up against these teams, and I stood out there one night, it was absolutely sickening, the punishment these kids were getting. In basketball, we held our own because we had a coach that put a program in, and I don't see that right now, it's really upsetting. We finally got it in with Darren, went down in the 3rd and 4th grade program that started, you gotta start the kid young. And that's in basketball. In football, he did the same thing. He's involved in 3 or 4 different sports, and he takes a lot of time where he should be putting in with his family. He puts it in where other people do not put it in with their kids. I see the people that step forward, they go over to Mogador. Why they win is because the input of the graduates come back and coach the football team. It almost makes me, it's like a Thursday night over there, said, come over and see why we're successful. Because everybody in that town's involved. And here, until this got started, when my son was in junior high, I made a decision. Our program here at Waterloo, under the last coaches we had, I said, I'm not letting him play over here. I'm gonna go over field. Almost pulled him out of this school district here. I had my cousin come and talk to me and said, how about bringing Jason back? He had been a 7th, 8th grader. I said, he has more learning ability and potential. Stay with academics. These kids that leave here at Waterloo, and I've been to Catholic, I've been to Talmadge. You can talk about all you want to about sports. There's no computer classes in the 7th, 8th grade. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was told it's not down there. I was on, before I came tonight, I looked at these schools up in Cleveland. You ought to be worrying about the academics of these kids that leave here and go out in the real world. Because you're going to go up against the best. You go into these other schools that copy, they got smart boards. We had one, and the thing was over there at the board office. When Bill was here, he said he moved it into one of the classrooms. That's hard to see when other schools are getting a better education. Algebra, our kids in the 7th or 8th grade got to go to the high school for an algebra teacher. It's not fair. It's all the way down the line. So we don't step up to the line, it's not going to happen. I'm in Cranbrook.
The reason that the kids are going to algebra that are in the middle school is because they're gifted kids. They also have teachers in the middle school for them. And in every single middle school class, they have the ability to use computers. When I was in middle school, I had to write research papers in almost every single one of my classes. There's a computer lab for the middle school, elementary, and high school. So that was false information.
But I do agree with you, youth program. In fact, I have one of the kids. I live in North Canton. I bring my kids here. And Darren was my son's coach. So thank you, Darren, for what you do for the community. So, I mean, my kids go here. I brought them here because I believe in the district. North Canton's a great school district. I believe in this one more.
This gentleman's been waiting to speak here.
I have a question and I want to tell you a story. If you want to switch, do you think that we can win more games by going to some of these other schools?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily.
And we're not
I'll
promising
tell you my
wins.
story. I
We're
come out in
promising
this school
competition.
district in 1960. My kids all went here, my grandkids all went here. I'm the one that started this football field back here. We worked together, we had rock festivals, we had all things, we had school spirit. To me, today, Waterloo has no school spirit whatsoever. And when you get that school spirit, you're gonna win games. Now, that's my theory. I'm
I think it
I'm
comes
just
from
a
the
dumb
community.
farmer, that's all.
No, you're right. It comes, we do need more school
That's
spirit.
right.
When we go sit and you guys all went through high school or middle school and you sat through those pep rallies, those kids in there, it's almost a waste of time to have one. I would almost rather have them in class teaching them than actually go to something fun because they're blah. They have no school, they don't know how to win. We need to get back to where we're teaching them how to have that spirit and how to win and how to be a good participant in that. And when we're outnumbered by 2 to 1, it's kind of hard. My son's a sophomore and he told me, he goes, Mom, he goes, I'm so can't wait to my senior year where we can win a game. He's, you know, and I'm like, you know, how do I tell my 15-year-old that you're wrong? You know, is I got to drive 15 extra miles or 30 extra miles. I'm going to take the, you know, I'm
We
going to
had
put
the
that
game-
extra money in my gas.
When we had the games in Randolph, I took the movies for the football team. Standing room only. I went to East High School in Akron. 75% of the student body went to every game. We rode the bus, special buses. Win or lose, the same, everybody was there. At the Rubber Bowl, Thanksgiving Day out in the cold, we was out there for the playoff. School spirit, that's what we gotta have. Now, how do you do it? You educators know school spirit, I hope.
I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get them into a position where people will come to see them play, that they'll be proud of themselves, and we can develop that school spirit again. When I'm looking back here at all these little boys that I've watched for several years now, they deserve an opportunity. These are good athletes, they're young, but they deserve an opportunity to be on an even field when they get into high school.
Mrs. Brock.
I know I'm getting a lot of feedback, like they said up front, you guys up front, about competition. Is this gonna be competitive? Nobody knows if this is gonna be competitive, but like Mr. Who said, our sports start at the youth level. Every wrestler here that has wrestled in the youth, and some parents that have said, you know, the kids aren't here, where are their kids wrestling at youth right now? They are not wrestling at Waterloo. Whether they feel not welcome or the competition is what it comes down to. Their kids aren't, there's no competition at the Waterloo youth wrestlers, so they go to Lake, or they go to Boostown, or where, that's hurt in our high school wrestling, so you can't tell me it's not, I mean, it's about competition. It's not just about competition, but if that was the case, tell me why our youth wrestlers are not wrestling at Waterloo. And I can speak on it because my husband coaches it, and I see it, I feel the motor every other day. The wrestling program hurts, along with all the others. I mean, and you hear as a community, it's all about football. It's all about softball. It's not. You know, we have a football youth program that is running very strong right now. A lot of people don't like how it's ran. I think it's running strong. It's building for our high school level. Some of our other sports, we don't have that right now. If we don't make changes, we're gonna lose it, the program altogether.
That a lot of that comes with that sense of community too, because I've said it forever. It's the same 10 people in baseball, it's the same 10 people in football, it's the same 10 people in wrestling, it's the same 10 people in basketball. People don't want to work the booths at the fair, people don't want to be in the concession stand, people don't want to deal with the parents, but then everybody raises their hand when they get to complain about something. And I can say, I can speak on it because I'm one of those 10 people that shows up at all those things.
And I want to add to the school spirit and the Fosters, everybody that was at last week's game, I think even Mr. who played what, Mogador? We sat there and watched their student section hackle us and do what they do as student sections, as our student section just sat there like we were in church, told to be quiet and not move. It took Jesse and a kid from Kent to go over there and get the section going, and the excitement in the stands is something that Waterloo hasn't seen. Jesse's graduating this year, I haven't seen it since he's been here. So, if there's any other alternatives on how we're gonna change the district.
Yeah, there are some schools that are out of control like Crestwood, Steve.
Tom, I got a question. A coach that coached my son in, I wanna know his view. He's up Rootstown, he came down to Waterloo. His boys went there. And also the guy, I wanna see, he touched on why he didn't think we should come into this new league. I just wanna, it's like the Democratic and Republican parties. Until you see them one-on-one and pick their brain, because they've been there, done that, and been around kids. I'd like to see how they, Mr. Maury, how do you feel about it? You coach these kids when we competitive, you coach their Blitztown when they're competitive. You see where it's all going now, with everything these kids have to do now.
I would agree with the fact that kids run in cycles. When you've got good kids, then you can win. I don't care what they do. With good coaching, good kids, you win. And when you run a down cycle, I don't care whether you go to that league or this league, can. And if you don't get a win, then you can get something else. You know, my boys played here, we didn't win every doggone game, but they got something, pride from being in the water. And I can't abide by when the going gets tough, let's go to another league. You want my person, I just say, take what we got, let's get that. That's my.
How long do you roll with the slump, I guess, is my question. Forever?
I don't know why you say it. I look at baseball games, I went to all those baseball games last year, we lose by 1 run. So
Yeah.
what's that mean? We crack in and go, you can win those
I
games.
mean, overall, though, would you say that the school district's in a slump athletically?
So what?
I don't think so. You know, I look at the championship banners, I great coaches that have come out here, taken kids from track and things like that, to just divorce ourselves from the league where we were competitive and say, well, even playing field. I mean, in '81, we made the state playoffs, we got in the Final Four, we played a kid from out here, Otsego. They had 22 freaking kids. They had no right being on the same field with that team that we put on the field. And they beat us that night. So I mean, you can win. You just.
But that was 34 years ago.
I don't think
And
you
things
just
have
have a
changed.
bit
Hey, Doug, and you know how much respect I have for you. I have a lot of respect. Is it not, is it not that that Ritztown or Crestwood's worried what's gonna happen to the league if we leave?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Is it not what you guys are, like Ritztown or Crestwood is worried that we might be leaving the league and it's gonna make the league into uproar? And that you might have to bring another bigger team down like Field. Field will be the next team to drop down. So Fritztown's gonna have to play field football? Come on now, that's not gonna go good. Now Crestwood's gonna play somebody, again, their size. And you don't think the league's worried about that?
If you're asking me about Rootstown, you think they're thinking about leaving?
No, I'm saying,
Crestwood moved down.
no, are you thinking that's why everybody's so upset with this? I mean, the basketball team has been just hammered for the last month since this rumor's been out. Oh, you guys are crazy, what are you leaving for? Then they go out and beat us by 60 and press us till the last minute of the game.
Tradition means a lot to all of us, and I know you people here will make the right decision for your school. I know you will. I know you want what's best for Waterloo High School and your student athletes, and I appreciate that. Remember that Woodridge and Freesboro were down in the county division last year, and they moved up. And they're struggling now as well, but they're competing, and Crestwood moved down. It's been a benefit for Crestwood, and there's no doubt about that. And yes, we are the biggest school in the county division. And I shouldn't say we, I'm retired, I'm not a Crestwood person anymore. But, that's right. And no, I live in the Marlington district, I don't pay taxes to Waterloo School, I'm sorry about that. But keep in mind, the other thing I want to mention, there is a PTC constitution that requires a 2-year notice for any school who plans to leave the league. So Waterloo needs to give an official notice when they decide that they're going, and then they're obligated to play out their league schedule for 2 years after that. So I'd ask you to keep that in mind also. And no, the PTC will get along, ideally with Waterloo, but if Waterloo moves on, then the league will do okay.
Okay, is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
First of all, the thing I hear in the community the most is about that. I mean, it's that same old just compete, just build, just turn the program around. That's extremely disrespectful, I think, to our coaches and to our athletes. You know, our athletes work. I don't know if everybody who hasn't been around thinks that our athletes are just sleeping over here after school and our coaches are showing up for games. They work very hard to do the best that they can for our kids and for our community. I'm involved in one of them. I haven't been over here to this school for a booster club that I haven't seen the V's in the school. They're working as hard as they can. So I don't, that just compete thing is just, you know, back years ago, Doug, in '81, we had a heck of a lot of things to do in '81. I mean, I was there, unfortunately. I didn't, you know, socially, there's just more things for these kids to do. I mean, in '81, sports was a priority. I mean, and that's how it was. And it's just, I just don't, know that it is a priority in society anymore. That when you start talking about comparing apples and oranges, I don't know that we can compare back when we played and when we were in sports, whether it translates to what it is now. You know, the whole cycle thing is true. It runs in cycles because you'll have families. You have families come through communities, they have kids, and you cycle through. The biggest problem with cycles at a school this size right now, and the down cycle we have with numbers is, when you're dealing with a youth basketball team who has 10 kids, 10 total kids, it is hard to build a program when you're competing against schools who have 35 kids on 3 different teams, and that's their travel situation. So you are now trying to build against numbers on a consistent basis. When you get to 7th and 8th grade, and you have to play a combined 7th and 8th grade junior high football because of a numbers situation, you start losing fringe kids because they don't want to get their brains beat in. It's just nature. And you start losing more numbers. And it just cycles down and down and down. School spirit. School spirit is great, and it's based on winning, okay? School spirit is much better when you are successful than when you're not successful. School spirit, when you're getting beat by 50, you look goofy. I'm just gonna be honest. You can go out there and cheer all you want until you can do it on the field and be competitive. It's just a lot of screaming and, okay? So it all is hand in hand with trying to be competitive. I think school spirit goes hand in hand with it has to be there, but I think you have to have some degree of success to sustain school spirit. It feeds off of each other. The other thing that travel, I know that's one of the big things, everybody's all about the travel. Come on, we've got kids doing travel everything. We drive all over the community, we drive all over the state to do, I drove my daughter to horse show. I mean, it's not that, come on. If that's the biggest thing we can say is that travel is gonna be the backbreaker for this whole thing, parents know. I mean, I bet for a fact, how many times have you played volleyball in Columbus or whatever? It doesn't matter, you're gonna take them to where they need to be competitive.
I have to add to that though too, like, I really don't care what league you go to or whatever, and my kids are in sports, and some of them work really hard at it, and some of them don't. But I like what you said. You know, I coached the basketball team since they were in 3rd grade, and I noticed that those kids, no matter how hard they try, you know, I guess what I'm saying is the kids, and maybe it comes from the parents whether the kids want to play hard or not. It's hard to build that. It's hard to make those kids do that if the parents aren't behind
Yeah,
them.
because it's confidence things.
I'm just saying it's
Winning
really hard.
breeds winning,
We have
losing
to-
breeds losing, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I got a
I think
question
the
for you.
coaches, if they respect their coaches and respect their teachers, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I noticed that they need pride where they come from, the school that they come from. I didn't come from here, but I want my kids to have pride that they come from Waterloo. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
Non-league football, okay? I can only find the last 5 years. Ritztown non-league. What's your idea at a school like Ritztown or Waterloo, when you go to put together a non-league schedule, what are you trying to do? Be competitive? Exactly. Okay, so Ritztown, and I just because I know they played. In the past 5 years, we played 8 games against the ITCL. So you're looking for games you can be competitive with, and Ritztown's been playing teams out of the ITCL because they think they can be competitive with.
Just in football.
Just in football.
Just in football. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean that goes to show me that there are other people who think size-wise that it's competitive. The other question I would ask is, Steve, I mean you were there at Crestwood. Would you say in the county division has been beneficial to Crestwood over when you were in the metro division and you were the smallest school in the metro?
Well, as Doug mentioned, everything runs in cycles, and Crestwood is on an upcycle right now. We got some stud athletes in the big sports and paying dividends. Has it been beneficial? Certainly it's been beneficial.
Okay, you didn't change leagues. Obviously, you were a benefit of tier
Planning
system,
enrollment, yeah.
a tier system that took enrollment. But really, other than we're changing leagues, but really, we're trying to do the same thing competitively, is to try to get on a competitive balance with schools that are our size. You know, years ago, Mogador played in the suburban league. Why did they get out of the suburban league? Because they couldn't compete. So, you know, I know Mogador is like this holy grail of whatever, everybody wants to compare them to everybody because of what they do in football. And you do have to respect what they do over there. It's a community that lives it and dies by it. And let's face it, those kids aren't from Mogador either. So it's a little different situation. But they were in suburban years ago. They came to Portage County because they couldn't compete in the suburban. Field was in the suburban years ago. Came to Portage County because they couldn't compete in the suburban. Half the PTC is in the PTC because they couldn't compete. Coventry couldn't compete, Norton couldn't compete in the suburban. They came here because they were looking to try to get competitive balance to compete. Do I want to leave Portage County? No. I've been born and raised here. I have friends everywhere I go. I go scout. If I would see you at Crestwood, I have relationships with people. I don't want to lose that, but I also don't want to see my nephew Ryan get his brains beat in for 4 years if that's the alternative. That's the biggest thing is why I'm in favor of this move. And I'll tell you for a fact, for some reason, nobody in this area ever goes that way. I don't know why. But I actually drove out past Berlin Reservoir. There's no drop-off out there. There's actually still communities out there. I know we always go west and north. I drove all the way out past the circle, all the way past Berlin. There's a mall out there. There's other people out there. Trust me, it's not that bad a place. I know we don't ever travel east, but there's no drop-off over on the other side of Berlin. We'll be okay when we drive out there. That's all I have.
And I was at the board meeting on Thursday, and we kind of discussed it more there if you were there, you know where I'm coming from. It is about competitiveness, and it is about numbers, and it is about community. But what it really comes down to is about the kids, and it's about their morale. And I graduated, if you don't know me, I graduated in 2011.
2018?
Well, that's a good question, because when Kent left, they only gave us about a year and a half notice, so we'll have to have that discussion. But it would be for 17, 18.
But you still have to abide by the rules that Waterloo, these other schools are in, to drop out of that league, true?
If our board decides to make this move, it would be for 17, 18.
Brian.
I had a voicemail I haven't had a chance to return, partly because I came here from work, and partly because I wrote all over again. But it's as good a time as any to ask. As far as, the message was something about being concerned about the distances and being able to make it to the other schools, in time for middle school games, that kind of thing, because of time constraints. Do we see any issues from that standpoint?
Quite honestly, we're not even at that point yet in discussions of what are start times for middle school athletics, what are the start times for, let's say, volleyball.
I do know through scouting in the ITCL that they do have concerns, or they have in the past, about week games during the week. Tuesday night boys games, Wednesday night girls games. They shorten the JV game a minute a quarter in the JV game, and they shorten the warm-up. The 20-minute warm-up, they start doing the introductions at 15, so that it shaves off about like 15 or 20 minutes a night because of concern to it's a school night. So I know they've done that in the past. I don't know if this.
That's the thing, since things are flopping.
This person's concern was more in PTC, we started all middle school contests at 4 o'clock.
Which doesn't happen.
Which actually doesn't happen.
Never happens.
We don't get, most games don't start before 3
Most of them don't come, we start at 4 o'clock maybe.
Because the schools have the same problem, they have trouble with busing, having
Our
enough.
busing is more of an issue than anything,
Yeah.
just getting buses back to get kids on.
Hey, Sean.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I graduated from here in '93. I left, went to Ellett, worked for the city of Akron. I brought my kids back here. I'll tell you, numbers makes a difference. Ellett, middle school has 1,000 kids in it. Elementary school that my kids went to had 540 kids. High school has over 1,000 kids in it. I personally know, and other parents in here that I know, my kid played out here with a broken hand because the team needed the people to play, because we have 30 kids on our football, our 7th grade football team, 6th grade football team. They need the kids to play. But when you're going against Ellett or Southeast and they've got 70 kids, that football team standing right back here played both ways. For the 2 years my kids played in it, almost every single one of them played both ways. By the time they come out of that game, they're whipped. They play hard, they give it their all. But if you're playing a school that says, here's my offense, oh, they can come off the field, here's my defense. And I've got extra kids I can put in to let these kids rest. But they're still going out and giving it their all, and I'm sure the high school's doing the same. I haven't been to very many high school games. But with these younger kids, my freshman over there plays soccer. Their team was the same way. I watched their soccer team go up against teams that had double the amount of kids playing soccer against their team. They play the whole time. Time they come off that field, they're whipped. And they're getting beat, and they're getting beat.
And then they come to school the next day and they're so exhausted they can't stay awake in class because they're just beat.
And if they would come to school winning, the rest of the school is going to rally around them and give them the school spirit. We played Field, we played Magro, we played Southeast 25 years ago. That's great, it's tradition. But like she said, let these kids make their own tradition. Stand behind them, let them start their tradition. We can drive a little bit. Sean and I talked, and we kind of mentioned at a board meeting about maybe getting a bus to take some of the parents. You know what? Even if I got to pay $2 to ride the bus to help pay the school for gas, if you can't drive that far, maybe we can. Other schools do it. I've seen other schools take a parent bus. So you cough up $2 to ride the bus. You don't have to drive yourself. You'll get back, your car will be sitting here. You know, that's another alternative that maybe the school can look into. But let these kids decide what they want to do. Let them try to be the champions. Let them try to win the games on a fair level playing field, that they're not playing hurt, they're not playing beat up day after day after day, and they're coming to school and their friends are cheering them on. Kids, how many of your friends come in and cheer you on when you walk into school the next day when you've been beat by 50 points?
That's where the school spirit comes in.
I agree, but if your football team walks back in here and you just beat, if we'd have beat Mogador, I mean Mogador's game was very close.
Right.
But if we'd have walked in here on Monday morning, winning that, or not Mogador, the Ritztown game, holy crap, this roof of this building would have been screaming. These kids would have been high-fiving each other and jumping all over each other. And they don't. They walk in here with their heads hung down. They don't have spirit like we had. You had. Or anybody else in here from 40 years ago. But that was 40 years ago. Let's move on. Huh?
My two boys played. I know what it's like. They're whipped.
Huh? I just want to give one example of competitive balance. You guys been to every volleyball game, correct? We were pretty good, weren't we? 16-6, right? What was our league record? We were good. I mean, 16-6, that's pretty impressive, right? We were 6-6 in the league. We won 10 non-conference games because we scheduled people we were competitive with.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
When we threw up the numbers about the other sports, boys and girls soccer and wrestling, those teams, because they don't necessarily fall within our tier in this new setup, would that still count towards like winning a league title?
The wrestling?
Or soccer or whatever?
Yeah, that would be the league. That would be the
Okay.
ITCL soccer league. That's the ITCL wrestling. And the wrestling is just like, it's kind of like our PTCs now.
Right.
But that's it. I mean, you go to the one main
Everybody's
match.
in on that,
And
whoever
that's,
wins
in,
league.
yeah.
Soccer's the same way.
But you gotta remember what the difference is with the PTC, you have the Metro involved
Right.
too.
Right.
The biggest schools in this conference are D4.
I just wanted to clarify that it was essentially for something, a league title or
Yes.
whatever, as opposed to just 6 random teams as
Yeah.
part of your schedule.
No, it's their league wrestling.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? We can keep going. Yes, ma'am.
Couple of things. I'm the one that put the comparison on Facebook that got everybody else psycho. But I wasn't really trying to be negative. I was just trying to compare apples to apples. I think this might possibly be the best thing for Waterloo. I think something needs to be done for sure. I've watched my kids are little, don't get me wrong, they're little still, but I've watched, I'm watching my family members leave the district, which doesn't make me happy. And, like I said, I'm on the fence, but I do like fair comparisons, and I'm definitely like facts, and I felt like this was somewhat misleading. And I just questioned that, but I just wanted to say that, I'm definitely invested in Portage County, it's not a secret. Graduate from here, my kids go here, I teach at Crestwood. My cousin is the head football coach at Mogador, she's texting me right now. So, I mean, I'm definitely invested. I just think that it needs to be an educated decision, and it needs to be with the facts, not what everybody wants you to know, but what it actually is. And I do think that, something's gotta give at some point. It's not, right now, it's pretty bad. I mean, I just watched the middle school, football team games and stuff. I don't go to a lot of high school stuff, not gonna lie. But I do think that it's something that everybody needs to consider, but the biggest piece I think that is missing here is this might not even happen, right? I mean, they haven't decided this. They were locked last night, and then they actually yesterday were talking about 2 other teams. Waterloo wasn't even included. You're saying at 4 o'clock today Waterloo was included.
This is
and
what.
they're not meeting until next week.
You're not meeting until next week. This is what the.
So like this is a lot of.
It's very fluid.
And that's what we're saying too. We're not saying this is what they sent me at 4 o'clock
Right.
I wanted to give you the most up-to-date.
Right, which that's more current than what I saw.
Info.
What I saw was from yesterday, and it was
Well,
including.
the reason
some
those other two
schools.
teams were in that mix is because they accepted their invitation already. We have not done that.
Is that Campbell, Matthews, and those two teams?
Yeah, and Matthews is one that wasn't listed in there, and quite honestly, I don't know why they're not listed in there. I don't know if they decided to go back to the NAC. I'm not sure what is going on with Matthews with that.
You know, I mentioned that before too. We talked about the suburban league, and that's a much smaller number, group of schools, where this is, you know, this is how many is that? It's 18, if my math is right, but.
It would be 19 with Matthews, and that's where it's, you know.
It's very hard, it's very fluid, it is.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
that's
constantly.
frustrating, I
yeah.
guess, at this
Have they
point.
talked-
Because as much as so say everybody, especially the kids, because that is definitely what this is about, let's face it, we had our time, you know, they deserve to have theirs, but this is so not even close to, you know, so I'm having a hard time with like the imaginary plate, you know?
Have they talked about a deadline as far as?
We're supposed to meet next week.
They're meeting next week to vote.
Is that to vote into the store?
And that puts us in concrete.
Okay.
You know, if you want to know the process, I mean, one, we have to wait for the fluidness of this stuff to slow down a little bit and put in the form on what they want, and then they have to give us the official invite, which obviously we haven't gotten that yet. So, I mean, there's steps to this, and it's still going to take a little bit of time. And we have to decide, and really, honestly, we have to decide if this is what we're going to do. Yes, sir, go ahead.
I'm speaking for the soccer program. You say that all the coaches are here, but yeah, my coach on boys soccer, Noah Herbs, are here to know about this because it still involves them. But we don't have the right communication about anything else, like games or anything like that. Because my friend, he was kicked off the basketball team because he didn't know about practice. So, I mean, we gotta get the communication here. But we still gotta include everybody with it. I mean, I texted my coach and he's like, what's it about? I said, it's about switching divisions. And he said, all right, thanks for letting me know. I didn't really know about it. So, I mean, I guess that's another thing that we gotta work on with that. So.
Okay. Will do. Soccer coach didn't know?
All the coaches do.
All right, yes, sir. Anything else?
One more real quick thing.
Okay.
How many emails have you gotten in the past
I
2 weeks? Text messages.
Rumors, as far as I know, Christy's cousin, Margaret, and I've talked to Russ. Margaret talked to the ITCL back before all this happened. They wanted to form a league of, it would have been your Mogador, Western Reserve, McDonald, South Range, Crestview, would have been basically a power of small school that would have maybe been like the MAC down there that has all the state titles. So they had already inquired to the ITCL trying to form this football power league, and the rest of the teams in the ITCL told them to fly kites because obviously they didn't want to be in that situation. Southeast has talked to the NBC. Garfield has talked to the NAC, the one up with Champion, and so there are a lot of people talking. Lake Center, when I was down there to scout, and I had some kids that played AAU at Lake Center, they're not real happy with being in this league either. They don't think they're a good fit. They don't feel, and maybe that's just because it's all brand new to them, but there are people down there that aren't happy with being in the league either. So we aren't the first group to explore this.
You know, I'd just like to speak one more thing about the school spirit thing, because I'm a big spirited guy too. We just talked about a volleyball team that was 16 and 6. That's right up. How was the school spirit? Was it big pick? Were they all pumped up about that? I mean, I just don't think that changing leagues and getting more wins is going to suffice those of you looking for that school spirit. Let me talk about Ridgetown. I just subbed there today. That's the best wrestling team money can buy. Kids from Waterloo, they moved into that district. Kids from Springfield moved into that district. They went down there fourth in the state. Fourth in the state. They have a big pep rally there. You think those kids give a darn they're fourth in the state? I just think you're barking up the wrong tree. You think that moving leagues and getting a couple more victories is going to pump up school spirit. You were more along the line, what you had to do is make it into a video game or something they can hold in their fingers, and then you might get some school spirit. But I'm just trying to warn you, you could go and win 100 games to win back the kids in that school spirit this man talked about and that I enjoyed. It's going to take more than switching leagues. That's all I'm warning about.
I tend to disagree with you. I mean, I attended Marlington. I coached there for 20-some years. I saw what the change did.
There's a big difference between football and volleyball. No offense to volleyball players, but I went to a Division I high
And you were
school.
talking wrestling too.
Well, you go to a wrestling match at Marlington. You're getting standing room only.
All right, we have a couple more want to speak. Go ahead.
They're winning.
Coach, let her speak.
Winning, they're not filling out.
Excuse me. He said I could speak.
Go ahead.
Alright. So this whole league thing, and I get where you're going, not wanting us to leave the league tradition, blah, 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 blah. But watching my son play football for the past several years, he's coming home not happy their teams are losing. So if we have an opportunity to play teams that are more in our league, that are a little bit more at our level, and they have a chance to win, I think that they're gonna have a little bit more spirit. I don't care if the rest of the school doesn't have the spirit, shake your head at me, go ahead. I don't care if the rest of the school doesn't have spirit, my son will have more spirit, don't cover your eyes. My son will have more spirit, his teammates will have more spirit, more kids will wanna play football, because now you got kids not wanting to play because they're losing all the time. And it's going for basketball too. It's going for all the sports. Who wants to go out there and get their butts whooped because they're playing teams out of our league? So, and I also don't believe that we're being fed bull. I do believe we're getting the whole story as well. So, just saying. As far as school spirit goes, those kids busting their butts on the field will have more spirit.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just real quick. We might have about school spirit, but like you said about people going to roast town, people going. If you're not winning, the kids aren't going to want to stay here. It's a whole different thing. When I grew up, you didn't say, "Dad, I'm going to play at Kent because they're winning." I grew up in Ravenna. You know, you played for the school you played for. Well, now they have so many opportunities that we're not winning here, and it's the parents saying, "Oh, well, you're not winning there. We're going to take you over here. Oh, you're not doing very good over there. We're going to take you over here." I mean, so I think now it's different only because they have that opportunity. You know, they don't have to stay here and win. All the kids think, "Oh, well, if they ain't winning here, I'll just go somewhere else." And I mean, I don't know if this will fix it. Will it? I don't know. But I'm saying, you know, if we don't start winning, they're just going to go somewhere else.
We're losing competitively.
Right. Yeah, I mean, or keeping it close. I'm not saying we got to win. Just keep, you know, the ability to keep it close. You know, I help with the youth football, and when you go to Streetsboro and they have enough kids, you know, to field 3 teams, and our kids are playing both ways, like they were saying, it's just kind of tough on them. You know, they come home and say, you know, I don't understand. Well,
You know, I want to make this clear, just so we all, if we were to do this, we're not guaranteeing to be champ. Again, we're doing it just to have more of a, my motivation is just to have more of a level playing field. That's all I want. You know, I've been given the task to try to make, to help make our place great, academically, athletically, extracurricular wise. I'm going to do everything I can, what I believe in, to make it. You know, I'm the third guy to answer your question. I'm the third one in 4 years, the third superintendent in 4 years, and that's pretty crummy. You know, but I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving until we get this thing turned around. So that may be, hopefully, it won't be 10 years or 20 years from now. But I am committed to it. I'm going to do whatever I can to help make this place great. I see the pieces and parts all over the place. You know, we just need to pick it up, put it together, and get it moving in the right direction. We're not quite there yet. We're running out of time here. Does anybody else have any last comments? Mr. Pucheri, go ahead.
I just had one thing. I just wanted to say that, you know, thank everybody for coming on behalf of the board. I think it's really important. You can see how fluid the situation is. It's changing. Just today at 4 o'clock it changed. And one of the ideas behind this meeting was total transparency. You know, nobody's from within the district, the school board, or anybody like that is trying to withhold any information. We want everybody to have the most accurate, most up-to-date information. The board members are asking every question they can come up with, as I showed today, with questions about middle school schedules and things like that. I mean, so it's really important. We're not doing this in a vacuum. We really want to get input from the community, and we want to make sure that the community has good information out there, the best information we have. So if you have questions, or there's a rumor out there, instead of spreading the rumor, contact Mr. Brayman, Mr. McKinnon, one of the board members, myself. We will get you the answer. I mean, it's not, and sometimes, you know, we all may not know. We will have to find the answer, and that information will be coming forthcoming. But it's really important that we do this to total transparency, that everybody knows exactly what's going on.
That's a good point.
And at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, what's best for our students, our kids, our community.
That's it. Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Can you put that back to the enrollment number?
Yeah.
You didn't know I said it.
I saw you.
What I want to say is, as far as what Brian was saying about people leaving, or Christy was saying about people leaving, yes. Waterloo has always had this pride. Ever since I came here, it's like a brigadoon. We take care of our own. We need to stay with our own. We need to take the pride in our community, and we need to support. I mean, yes, there's a lot of people here tonight, but my God, not everybody's here that's out there talking on Facebook or gossiping or whatever. If you want to know the answers, you got to get involved. You got to ask the people who know. You got to get to the meetings. You got to come to the games. You got to see what's going on. You can't show up at a meeting and say, "Oh, I know there's, you know, the stands are not full at the basketball game." No, you have to show up at the basketball game and see how empty the stands are to get the real feel of it. Yes, everybody would love to still be in this PTC. We love it, but it's not good for our kids. It's not healthy for our kids. Look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers. I mean, we're dropping. I mean, whenever my kids, and I mean, my daughter graduated 6 years ago, I think, I don't know, but anyway, my son graduated 2 years ago. But when they were in school, these numbers were at least 20% higher. They're dropping. And it's not just because we have less kids in the district, it's because people are pulling their kids out for reasons that they want to do. It's not up to the kids. The kids need to have this sense of pride. We can all have this sense of pride, whether we're winning or not, but at least if the kids go into the game knowing that they have a chance. You can tell. You can tell whenever they play soccer. If they're going into that game and they know that they're playing against a field who is pulled in, everybody from Akron that they know that's good at soccer, you can see it in their faces. You can see it in their faces when we go to United local, which we beat them every time we play them 11-1. It's a whole different team. It's a completely different team out there. So you just have to remember that this is our community. This is what we're here for. We need to support the community no matter what, whether we're winning or losing. But we need to pull together. It's a great community. Whenever we are together, when we do things together, like John said, it's always, and we've always had fun. So, but the kids are great, and we've got so much talent here. I really wish you guys would notice that kind of thing, because there are so many people out there that don't see the potential in our kids, and we do. And right now, we have a great administration in place. We have a great group of coaches in place. Yes, there are a few that we need to change. But
Coaches or administrators?
administrators?
Coaches or administrators?
I'm not worried when I can't do that, but no, the majority of our coaches that have shown up for these meetings, yes, they are the ones we want. They are the ones that are going to support our kids. They're going to be there no matter what. Our administrators, same thing. Our teachers, but we need to get the parents involved. We need everybody to see what we have here, because we still have this thing that if you're at all involved, you can't miss it. You just can't miss it, and we need to get back to that.
On that note, we are having senior night at basketball tomorrow. It is against a rivalry that everybody says they want to see, they don't want to lose. So I expect the stands to be full tomorrow, right? Whether we're winning or losing, right?
Hey, as far as the timeline goes, like I said, we have to wait for the fluid part of this to finish up. We have to wait for an invite from them. We have to have more conversations, more reflection, and figuring out what we're going to do. And then it would have to go through. I'm assuming it would have to go through board approval. But before it gets to that point, we'll be working very hard to make sure this is the right thing. It's not being done lightly, that's for sure. We're taking everything into consideration. I really want to tell you guys thank you for coming in tonight. I appreciate you taking time. You're very passionate about this, and with good reason. You know, it's our kids. So thank you, and if there's nothing else, we'll call it an evening. Thank you all very much.
Hey, B.
What I do. I'm in trouble, Bob's coming after me. Remember, Bob.